Welcome back to the video series that goes along with my 6-week Math Prep Workbook. I'm Mandy Balster, and this is week 3 for the workbook that I developed for students to use as they're getting ready for the math section of the ACT. Hopefully, you've completed the first 2 weeks of the workbook and you're getting used to the flow of the prep work. If you haven't watched 1 and 2, go back and do that now. And if you need a workbook, see the description or I'll tell you where you can get one at the end of this video. Let's go ahead and start with a warm-up for the week. We're going to review special right triangles. These show up quite often on the ACT. When you know to look for them, you can work through some questions a little faster when you remember the relationships with the side lengths based on these special right triangle angle measures. The first one is the 45-45-90 triangle, and the second is a 30-60-90 triangle. Remember that the angles will be labeled, or you can derive the angle measures from other parts that are given, but we can't just assume based on what the drawing looks like. The ACT directions even tell us that the figures are not necessarily drawn to scale. So let's review the relationship between the legs of a right triangle and the hypotenuse. First, each triangle has a hypotenuse that is the side opposite the 90-degree angle. Then, there are 2 sides for each triangle that are the sides opposite the other 2 angles. So let's review these relationships. For the 45-45-90 triangle on the left, if we're given that the length of the leg opposite one of the 45-degree angles is x, then what is the length of the other leg opposite the other 45-degree angle? You should have said x. Remember that if 2 angle measures of a triangle are the same, and in this case a 45-degree angle, the 2 side lengths opposite those angles, the legs, are the same length. And as a reminder, we call a 45-45-90 triangle an isosceles triangle because isosceles means 2 leg lengths are the same length. Now what about the remaining side length, the hypotenuse? You should have said x on the square root of 2. Now looking at the 30-60-90 triangle, if we're given that the length of the leg opposite the 30-degree angle is x, then to me it's easier to find the length of the hypotenuse first. You should have said 2x. And another reminder, the hypotenuse is always going to be the longest side of the triangle, and in turn, the shortest leg length is opposite the smallest angle. Now what about the remaining leg length, the one opposite the 60-degree angle? You should have said x on the square root of 3. So for a lot of students, it really comes down to remembering that the square root of 2 length goes with the 45-45-90 triangle, and the square root of 3 length goes with the 30-60-90 triangle. As you're getting ready to begin week 3, let's talk about something called deep practice. When you practice and prepare in this way, you're really learning and making something your own. You're going to make some mistakes in deep practice, but that's when you can learn the best. When you push yourself beyond what you already know, when you figure things out for yourself, it's a great opportunity to learn and make something a part of your knowledge bank. If you're always answering easy questions or someone else is always giving you the answer, are you really learning? Use this time to think outside the box, learn new math skills, and increase your logic and problem-solving capabilities. It's great for the ACT, other STEM classes you'll take in the future, and a great life skill to have for whatever you need to figure out. So in week 2 in the workbook, we talked about using your answer choices to help you answer a question correctly. As a reminder, always bubble in an answer. You aren't penalized for incorrect answers, and if you aren't sure of the answer and have to guess, you may be lucky and guess correctly. But let's talk a little more about how those answer choices can help you. As you're tackling a question, after you read the question, glance through the answer choices. You may get a clue for solving the question. You may be able to determine the format of the answer. You may notice something that will help you set up the solution. You may also be able to determine how deep in the solution you have to go. We don't want to waste time simplifying an answer to a level that's not required. So let's take a look at this question to the right. It looks like in the last sentence of the question, we're asked for volume of this right circular cylinder. And then in the parentheses, you see we're given the formula for volume of a right circular cylinder. Notice there is pi in the formula and pi in the answer choices. There's no need to substitute any value in for pi in this particular question. You can stop when you plug in the other values for r and h and multiply those together. We also want to make smart choices. Some of the answers just don't make sense when we look at them. For this slope question, we see 3 of the answer choices are negative and 2 are positive. Now, if we remember slope, and we just talked about it in our video last week, we could do a quick plot of the points given and see if we're dealing with positive or negative slope. That would eliminate some of the choices. Use the slope formula to determine the actual number value for the correct answer here. And let's look at this question. It says Tanisha, a manager at a state park, counted the money in the cash register at the end of her shift, and then she deposited the money in the bank. When she went back to her office, she accidentally shredded the deposit slip. She remembered that there were only $5 and $10 bills, and she also recalled that there were 27 bills totaling $205. How many $5 bills were in Tanisha's cash register at the end of her shift? It seems like a lot of words here, but when we focus on what it says before we even start working out numbers, notice that there are only 27 bills total. So it wouldn't make sense to have more $5 bills than that. K choice of 32 is out before you even begin working anything. If you have to guess, you've increased your chance of blind guessing correctly by 5% now. And what if the answer you get isn't even one of the answer choices? Well, sorry, but you've done something wrong. Even if it's close to one of the answers, I'd be careful about just guessing the closest answer. This is okay if you're out of time and you're having to guess. But if you have time, try to rework this problem. If you're looking for an approximate value, you'll be given that in the wording, and it will be pretty obvious to you that you're looking for an estimate. You've probably plugged in a number wrong, messed up on a calculation somewhere, or you may just be totally off. The answer is going to be one of those answer choices. As a reminder, use your prep time to try these suggested techniques out. Some may not be for you, and you don't have to use them, but try them out ahead of time and not for the first time when you're in the middle of taking the real test. So now it's time to get started on week 3. You've got 5 days of activities. Leave us any questions in the comments below, and we'll talk again before you begin week 4. To get your own copy of the 6-week Math Prep Workbook, visit my website, teachmathwithme.com. Click on the link for the 6-week Math Prep Workbook. You can grab a free sample to try it out. Scroll down and click on the button, Download Free Sample. Give me your email address and I'll send it on over to you. If you're ready to go ahead and get a paperback version, you can get the workbook from Amazon in a traditional workbook form with a glossy cover. It will be mailed to you by Amazon. You can also get a Kindle version from Amazon, but you won't be able to print this one out. To download and print your own copy of the workbook, back on my website, go to the Resources tab, and that will take you to my Teachers Pay Teacher store. With this version, you can print a copy out on a personal printer or send it to a print shop. I like to specify spiral bound for my local printer. Get this version here. You can find all these links, a free sample, and more info at my website, teachmathwithme.com. Look for all the links you need in the description as well.